Good morning, real estate investors. How's everybody doing today? And welcome to the only podcast that is 100% committed to wholesaling and slow flips to set yourself free. I'm Scott Jelinek, your host, the author of Work Just Gets in the Way of Making Money, and my brand new book. There we go. My brand new book, The Art of the Slow Flip. For everybody who's listening, I am giving a free copy of The Art of the Slow Flip out to you. So you can go ahead and get it if you just go ahead and go to slowflip.com. That's slowflip.com. And I will go ahead and send you out a free copy. Just pay for shipping and handling. So today I have a guest on here. We have not done a lot of guests. So I'm excited to start doing guests. And his name is Armand Wright. Welcome, Armand. And I want to tell you, I have just recently met Armand. I've been following him for a while, but I only recently met him a couple of weeks ago. And while we were talking, I was so intrigued with the conversation that I was like, I just want to have you on the podcast so we can talk about it, record it, and then get it all out there for everybody else. So welcome, Armand. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
I am thrilled that you're here. So you live in Indiana, correct?
Yes, I'm in Indiana.
And we met talking about slow flips and everything that I do. And through conversation, you were more or less saying that's exactly what you do. Maybe not exactly the whole part of it, but you never called them slow flips, obviously, because you did a different thing. So before we get all into that, Armand, if you want to take a minute and just tell us your background, your history, how you got started in real estate. I am as curious as anyone else, so I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
I don't know. You want the long story or the short story?
But I got nothing but time.
All right, I'll tell you the story. I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio, born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. That's my home area. And I got started in real estate when I was very, very young. My grandfather had two places. And so I was just kind of familiar with the real estate, when I was really, really young. Then once I got, it was something I admired to become a real estate investor for my granddad. So once I got older, I jumped in older, went to college and whatnot, jumped involved in real estate, buying properties using my money, on my own money and my own credit. In 2008, the market corrected and I got corrected. I had like 40 doors all across town that consisted of an apartment building. I had a 15-unit apartment building, a 4-unit apartment building. The rest of them were houses like all across the city of Toledo. And in 2008, I went broke. I lost them all.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, it was a horrible experience. My own personal house got foreclosed on. My car got repossessed, and I had degrees and whatnot. So I loaded up everything I had in the truck, and I went to I relocated to a job, and I was working, and I didn't even have a car at the time. I was driving a U-Haul truck to work, and then I came across the I call seller financing strategies, and that's how I kind of built everything back up. It was an amazing experience, because I was doing really, really well, with 40 doors, and at least where I came from, that was considered really, really well. And to lose all of that and then to build it back, it's just been an amazing experience. And I owe everything to the seller financing strategies. Early on, I was doing a lot of lease option, like wholesaling lease options, wholesaling land contracts, pretty much set it up for other folks. And I strung quite a few deals together at a short period of time. And so I like to share different things with my kids. So my youngest daughter, she was 14. I kind of got her started. Like, I'll put the deals together, and then she would interview the buyers and put them together on the buyer side. And doing that. And then I had like a short period where I did like quite a few deals together, and I did a YouTube video. So I did a YouTube video just kind of talking about the process of what I was doing. I mean, I'm having some success, considered, that whole ride where I came from, things are really coming together now. And these guys out of Dubai seen the video, and they called me up. It was like 11 something at night, real late, our time. He's like, man, nobody want to answer the phone. I'm looking like, man, it's like 11 something at night. You know what I mean? And make a long story short, I was kind of asleep. I got off work. He kind of woke me up, So we had an interesting conversation, and make a long story short, that particular gentleman bought like 100 houses off of me in 1 year. And wow. Yeah, that really just turned everything around. And it's just the whole, but that conversation wouldn't have happened if I didn't know these seller financing strategies. That's what I try to share with folks, especially like my family members that may be having some financial opportunities, because you learn this information and you just never know what kind of doors it will open for you, because you're talking a little something different. I mean, well, I don't say everybody, but a lot of people know, pretty much you're looking to buy houses, you're going to buy low, sell high. But when we talk about the seller financing strategies, like buying houses on terms, it's not, the price is important, but if we can't get price, if we can get terms, we can win. And I really, really love, getting the price, selling the properties on terms, because it's like what we call like a win-win-win situation. So one is a win, we investors, we making money, but also it's a win for the families that we're putting in the house. Because a lot of times, coming up, I know, like I came up in the inner city, most of the people they're not homeowners, they're just renting. And it just, you got a whole area of renters. Now, of course, the landlords, they making money. I mean, that's cool. But the renters, the people are not taking care of the homes. They really don't care about the area. People selling drugs in the corner and things like that. They're just looking at it. I'm just here for a minute and I'm going to move on. But when people are buying houses in the area, they're going to care more about the area. They're going to care about the people selling drugs on the corner and things like that. And it's just going to make a better community for everyone. And then those kids see their parents are homeowners, and that's just, this be a better role model for the kids. And the kids going to want to grow up to become homeowners. So it's just really a good situation. And then if you could access some private lenders, it'd be a win for them too. So it's a win for us. It's a win for the people that's living in the house, and it's a win for the lender that make, pretty good money on their return.
And the community too, right? Because now people take care of the properties.
Yeah.
So you said something that I want to go back to, because I found it interesting, is that you said the reason you got this opportunity was because you knew seller financing, right? You understood it.
Yes.
But I heard something different. I feel the reason you got that opportunity was because you answered the phone. Because
absolutely,
how many people did he call? And you're the one who answered the phone. And I think about that all the time, because I do deals sometimes. And we just recently had my biggest deal of my life, right? And we made a I think I told you about it, $250,000 on a wholesale deal. And I talk to people and they're like, oh, you're so lucky, right? And I love hearing that. And I'm like, and yes, there's a part of luck involved, because we got the lead, right? But then I also say, well, it was 2 hours out of my area. How many people are going to take a lead 2 hours out of your area, drive 2 hours there, 2 hours back? You don't even know if it's a deal, right?
Right.
And most people wouldn't. How many people are going to risk all of these different things? Spent years building up our presence online so that the person trusted us and wanted to deal with us. And so although it seems like luck, there's the work that did. And you did exactly that. When you're saying the guy called 11 o'clock at night and said nobody was answering, I'm like, you answered. So yes, knowing what you're doing obviously helped. But the most important thing of what I heard there is that you answered the phone.
Absolutely. Always answer your phone.
And you still did the parts that you had to do.
Always answer your phone. Even now we get these spam calls. I mean, I got a few spam calls today. I still answer the phone. If it's a spam call, if like one of them automated messages, I just hang up. But always answer the phone. You just never know where your next deal is going to come from.
Right. And I love that. And I say the exact same line. That's great that you said that. We never know where our next deal is going to come from. So one of the interesting things is I read a lot. I go to a lot of people's courses, seminars. I'm constantly learning, right? And I've gone to people's programs where they actually teach you to not answer it, let it go to voicemail, and then do our research and then return. And I'm like, I'm so the opposite. And the reason I believe the opposite, and clearly you're on the same page, Armand, is because I believe our deals, seller deals anyway, come from a motivated seller, right? They have a pain, they have a problem. If you don't answer, and I can't blame the seller for this, they have no choice but to go ahead and call the next guy. They have to, because they still have that pain. And so people who don't answer, I'm like, you just gave up your money. That's why you're in business. Answering the phone. So let's go back to 2008. So this is new information for me. I didn't know this. So your story is almost identical to my story, which I've heard so many times, right?
Yeah.
I had 84 properties going into the bust, and I didn't lose all of them, but I lost about 55 of them. You had 40. And so what was the structure on those 40? Were they mortgages in your own name? Were they sub-twos? Were they owner finance? How did that all work?
Oh, yeah, there was absolutely mortgages in my own name. I had a partner, and some of the loans were in his name, and then we did like we transferred them over into LLC, so we're like 50-50 ownership, but they were all like bank finance, nothing creative. And I knew of the creative strategies just from, because I just like to continue to educate myself. But if I had a choice to do the seller financing strategies, or the faster way at the time, which I thought the bank, using the banks, I just chose the bank methods, only to find out later the maybe the slower way, the more methodical way, where you make sure you dotting your I's and crossing your T's, is the best way. The faster way is not always the best way.
So so you built yourself back up. You started after the bust, obviously, as we all had to start over again. How many properties do you have now?
I currently have 16 properties, but the one unique thing is, which another thing that came out of our conversation is that I believe in paying everything off, you know.
Yes.
So of course I could have leveraged and bought like, you know, quite a few properties, but
Nope.
16, that's all free and clear.
It's fantastic. Free and clear
Yeah.
is insane. And it's funny because I preach this day in and day out. And that is, that is what slow flips are about. Buying them free and clear, buying them on short-term money, selling them on long-term money. We
Right.
still use private lenders. Obviously, we don't need money to do it. But I loved when I was talking to you that you were on the same page, because most people will argue to the death the alternative route.
Yes. Yes.
But it's only, and this is what's interesting, it's only people like you, Armand, and myself who got smoked that say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't care how good that sounds. I'm not doing that again. I'm not starting
Right.
over again." And,
Right.
and I love that because it's exactly yourself and people like you and myself who have been through it, that there's nothing anyone can tell me to convince me to go the other route.
Right.
But yet everybody I know who's preaching the other route and they're blowing up and they're building. And then when I'd be like, "Well, how long you been doing this?" 5 years, 8 years, 10 years. And it's hard to imagine. I just had this conversation the other day. I talk about the bust like it was yesterday, right?
Right.
And then we were talking, I was like, that's been 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
15 years. I feel like it just happened. And I'm like,
Right.
It's been 15 years, but it is ingrained in my brain and it will stay there forever. I owe nothing on my house. I owe nothing on my cars. I have no credit cards.
Yes.
I will not be in debt ever again. And I love that your mind is the same way, because
Yes.
the reality is, yes, you can make more money by doing the debt model. It's not a secret. It's a fact.
Right.
But the part they don't tell you is that's if everything goes perfect.
Right.
If everything doesn't go perfect, we might be right here again starting over, and I'm not starting over again.
And then another thing too, like, because, you know, I've networked with different people that do it the other way. And when that COVID hit, I mean, no one could predict COVID. I mean, I didn't know how it was going to affect my business, and, you know, no one know how it was going to affect anyone's business. But just imagine, you know, COVID came. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, where, you know, the people, you know, they had an option. If you were doing straight rentals, they had an option whether to pay you or not, right? But that's not my model. And then say if they don't pay you, the mortgage company is still wanting their money.
Right.
And so I know people that had like several properties and they had loans, or they have loans on them, and that has put them in the hole. Just, you know, because sometimes people can't afford to miss 1 month's rent payment before everything can go, you know, lopsided. And it just created a lot of motivated sellers. But I think the banks were smart enough this time. Somebody created a nice thing called a loan modification. So without those loan modifications, it would have been a ton of foreclosures.
And the other thing is, the government started giving, you know, they were paying people's rent during the COVID time, but that took months till that even started. But then my question, which you just brought up, nobody could have prepared for it. What would have happened had they not done that to all these people that were carrying all these mortgages? I know a guy, he had a little over 80 properties. He was over $500,000 behind in uncollected rents.
Wow.
$500,000. I'm like, that it's insane. And that's just the conventional model. And, you know, people have to deal with it. So tell me about your day now. What does your business look like, Lau? And I know you also do training and coaching, so I want to hear about that as well. But tell me about your real estate business first.
Well, my real estate business is pretty much, you know, it's pretty much automatic. Everything just comes in, you know, automatically. And here recently, I have been focusing more on the coaching and the training piece, looking to grow that, educate myself on that. But now I'm looking to get more into aggressively acquiring more properties, since someone was nice enough to connect me with a nice private lending source. So we're definitely looking to acquire quite a few more properties. I currently got one at the title company, got a ton of title issues, and we're working through that one. But I got a couple offers up in Michigan, and just, you know, I'm aggressively looking to acquire more properties right now.
That's fantastic. So that was one of the things I loved about when you joined with us in the Freedom Accelerator program. And one of the things I loved about it is because I do the same thing. I am a coach and I have a coach. You know what I mean? I do.
Yes.
I have programs and I partake in programs. And the reason is we get one little thing and it changes everything, because the numbers are so big in real estate. But I love what you just said. And that's something a lot of people don't know because it's still new, is that now we have funding available for people in the Freedom Accelerator program for slow flips. And I'm excited to see where that takes you, because they are lending the way we teach, which they have a program just for us, which is 5-year mortgages. And so now, I mean, I know you're still going to buy creatively and still do everything you were already doing, but now you have another tool in your toolbox, which is I can offer cash, even if you didn't have the cash, and pay the seller in cash. And then you have a 5-year plan to owning them all free and clear. And,
Yes.
it's amazing when we think about what 5 years from now is going to look like. And I've been doing deals recently. I have 170 now, right?
Awesome.
And I bought in the past maybe 2 or 3 months about another 35. And people ask me, why are you still buying? Because it's 5 years. I borrowed private money on them. It's 5 years till they come free and clear.
Right.
And I think about it sometimes. And you know what? What are we in 2023 right now? Right. And the way I answer, and people laugh at me, I said, you're right. It's a pain in the butt. I'm not going to make any money for 5 years. I said, but 2028, Scott, is going to look back and be thankful that 2023 Scott did this, because that's going to be another 20, 25 grand a month coming in when we get to 28. So, and I'm always thinking about my future self. And I love that exactly what you said is the same thing. We're always preparing our future self to be in a better place.
Yes.
I think more people need to do that. Stop worrying about today and start preparing for your own self, but your future self to have a great life.
Yeah. And another thing I would like to add too is like a lot of people, they like to just figure they're going to figure everything out on their own. But one key element, if you didn't take away nothing from this video here, one key element is relationships. When you reach out and start networking with different people, I mean, that can open up so many different creative ideas, so many different creative possibilities. Is this the one key thing in business is just relationships, forming relationships. I mean, it's just amazing. That's this one key fundamental thing to have is this good, solid relationships. And then always what I usually do, and which everyone's taught, but some people don't choose not to do it. But one key rule is always treat people in a manner that you want to be treated. At one point in time in my life, I was a correction officer, and I wasn't the biggest, baddest guy in the jail or whatnot, but always treated people in a manner in which I wanted to be treated, and things tend to work out pretty cool for me. Growing up in the inner city, again, like I wasn't the biggest, baddest guy in the inner city, but always, treated people in a manner I wanted to be treated. And that's this one golden rule that worked for me. And I'm pretty sure it'll work for a lot of people. So relationships, and always treat people in a manner you want to be treated.
Awesome. So I have a couple questions for you, Armand, but before I even get into that, I wanted to ask you, I heard you mention, I think you said a daughter doing videos with you. How many children do you have?
I have 4.
4 children. What are their ages?
Yes. 34, 32, 22, and my youngest is 12. So my youngest hasn't, I mean, I'm ready for him to get started, but mom is not really on board with that yet. But my oldest son, when things were really cranking, when I was working with those investors in Dubai, it was pretty much me and him kind of partnered up and did everything. And then I brought in my oldest daughter. She was kind of like the last one to get on board, but she does amazing. She's still, she's a licensed broker in North Carolina. And she was filling the property. So basically, like say, we get the properties, and then she was pretty much headed up the team of filling the properties in several different areas. She did all of that remotely. So, and then my youngest daughter, she started when she was 14. She was the first one to get on, and her mom encouraged her to stop. So she's going to like real estate more than she liked school. So she stopped, but now she is 22, and she's looking to get back into it.
Yeah, she's gonna like real estate more than school. I get that, but it's like you're gonna be so happy and wealthy, you're not gonna want to work on your education. I'm like, well, I can see both sides there.
Yeah.
I can see both sides. That's interesting. So, 2008, barring the the old advice that people always ask me, well, what would you do? I say, well, I wouldn't participate in the boom, right? But barring that, what advice would you tell your younger self prior to the bust, or before you went through all that you think might have changed your outcome going into the boom and bust?
Well, the boom and the bust, it's like, one thing is like, even though the bust happened, but I take 100% responsibility for it. You know what I mean? It's of course it happened, we had all these events going on around the world, but it was really due to my lack of education. You know what I mean? If I was educated properly and started a business like this, even if I would have took place in those, with those loans, I could have always used some of the seller financing strategies in order to solve those different situations. Because like when people, once I learned them, it was people in those situations that had, are in bad situations, I use these strategies in order to help their situation. So if I would have just, looking back on it, if I would have started with doing these strategies, this is like the fundamental way. If you want to start doing this, I mean, you can add some of those if you wanted to, but basically I would say if you start using these strategies, really, if you wanted to just be safe bet, just stick with them, just really don't leave from it. I mean, you'll thank yourself over and over again.
So you coach and train people as well, Armand. So tell me about your program and what do you train? What do you teach on? Do you teach on seller finance? Is that what you do?
Yes, seller financing. Yes. It's mainly seller financing, but also we touch on wholesaling, but mainly seller financing strategies. Just talking about the different ways of structuring the deals, seller financing, whether you're looking to acquire the properties using seller financing or selling the properties using seller financing. Also, always looking for a private money source where you can buy the properties using private money and then sell the properties using seller financing. And then as far as with the wholesaling, I put a little different word on it. I call it a cash infusion. Wholesaling can make a lot of cash really quick. But once you make that money, I mean, of course, if you have like an immediate issue that you need to solve as far as, financial, where you need to pay your bills or whatnot, that's cool. But if once you get to the excess, put that money aside where you can start buying properties yourself. And so you can start creating wealth. Wholesaling, not really a wealth strategy, but the strategies that we're talking about doing, these seller financing strategies, you can actually start acquiring properties and building wealth.
Yep. That's what I tell people with slow flips. I always say it's not the fastest path to a check. It's the fastest path to wealth. A fastest path to a check, just like you said, is wholesaling. Always to get a check, wholesaling is going to be your fastest path. But you stop doing it next month, you don't get paid next month. The slow flip, so you're seller financing, that's your fastest path to wealth. To waking up in the morning and having enough every single month, that's way more than enough to cover all your bills, and you can work or not work, and life is wonderful. And it's something I never really, we always talk about it, everybody plans for it, but you never really appreciate it until you get there.
Absolutely.
So also, Armand, I didn't ask you, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or was interested in learning about what you're doing, do you have a website? Do you have some way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I got my the best way to get in touch with me is, I answer my own phone. So the best way to get in touch with me is call me at 567-277-1235. The number is 567-277-1235. That's
interesting because everybody else has 87 different points of contact. You got a phone number. That's great.
Yes,
They can't answer your phone. So so I'm gonna let you go, Armand, and we're gonna finish up. But I want to ask you one other thing. So if you had to give advice, I always like to ask people this. Somebody's listening who hasn't done a deal. They're thinking about getting started. They haven't moved forward yet, and they don't know what they should do or shouldn't do or which direction they should go in. What advice would you give to somebody brand new getting started and needs to know what direction they should move their life in?
My main thing I tell people at the very beginning, find yourself a mentor, find someone that's kind of doing something that you're looking to do. And then you reach out to them and work with them. Find yourself a mentor. And then if you're in a situation where you can't afford the mentor that you're going after, maybe you can do some type of trade where you can do some type of task for that person you're looking to mentor with, or someone else to kind of learn. And then once you build up the cash, be able to hire the mentor that you're looking to work with. So my main thing is I usually tell people to find a mentor. I usually don't steer people in a direction of like this surfing on YouTube trying to figure it out yourself, because I mean, you can try to figure it out yourself, and kind of like early on, I did a lot of that figuring out yourself. But when you have a situation come up, a problem, then what? Then you're going to have to go ask someone. So if you had that mentor there at the beginning, that can kind of guide you to help steer you around a lot of those problems, it'd just be more value added for you to have a mentor at the very beginning.
That's great advice. And something I want to touch on what you just said is it doesn't even have to be somebody like myself or like yourself, Armand. It could just be an older guy who's been in the business for 40 or 50 years and is happy to talk to you about what he's doing or what he thinks you should do and move forward. Because I got a bunch of guys like that in my life, and they're not in the business. They're not trainers or coaches or do information marketing, any of that stuff. They're just in the real estate business, right? And they've been in it for a long time. And the value that I get out of talking with them sometimes, it hits me upside the head that I'm like, I never would have thought of that. And yet to them, it was just right on the top of their head because they've done it for so long.
Yes.
I think that's actually priceless advice to you can learn one of two ways: your mistakes or someone else's mistakes, right?
Right.
So I absolutely love that. All right,
That's
Armand,
right.
I'm going to let you go. Do you have any parting words you'd like to share?
I was just gonna say that's why I usually should tell my kids, coming through. I said, man, you can learn from two situations. You can learn from from situations, or you can learn from your own experience. So I just tell them you can learn from information or from situation, and then depending on the day and how they're acting, I'm like, you look like one of them situational type of person. You're gonna learn from information or a situation. But yeah, man, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you came on, and I'm glad I had the chance to learn a little bit more about you and exactly what you do. Thank everybody for listening, and feel free to reach out to Armand if you have any curiosities as to exactly what he does with his training and coaching and seller financing. Anybody that would like a free copy of my new book, The Art of the Slow Flip, go to slowflip.com and I will send one out to you. And have a fantastic day. But remember, do something today that your future self is going to thank you for. Have a great day.